Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk about 6 quotes to make you a better dryland coach and swim coach, if you ask me. Last week I went to the Gain Swimming Summit in Indianapolis, or Carmel, Indiana, which is just north of Indianapolis, and learned a whole bunch about dryland. Got to hear from Chris Plum, Ian Murray, Brent Dickey, Chris Webb, Vern Gambetta. These are guys that are the head of gold medal clubs. Chris Webb's in charge of Gain Swimming, and Vern Gambetta is the founder of the Gain program. It's an awesome dryland system, so I would encourage you to go check out what they got to learn some more. But these quotes, I'm going to put them in the notes there, so you'll have a little timestamp if you want to jump to them. It's all good, but here's the first one. Never sacrifice resistance. Never sacrifice range of motion for resistance. Okay? So it's real simple. That basically means, even though it feels good to lift weights and to push more pounds, if you're not getting to that full extension, what's the point? In the water, we are trying to build better athletes. Better athletes are better swimmers. And although getting stronger will make you faster, at a certain point, when strength adds bulk and reduces your range of motion, that does not benefit what you're doing in the water. At the end of the day, we want to be better swimmers. So if your dryland program is affecting your athlete's range of motion, you need to back off. You can lower resistance, right? The load, and you can make up for it either in volume, sets, reps, or repetitions throughout the week, right? So here's number 2, and I really like this one. Availability leads to ability. Chris Plum said this, and so the basic idea is the more you're at practice, the better you'll get. And I know that sounds simple, but here's the thing. You have that kid that hurt their knee, hurt their hip, hurt their shoulder. Maybe they're just out of practice or 2, maybe they're out a week or a little more. But at the end of the day, the kid that can stay in the water the most and do the most, they will get better. Maybe not that season, but over time. Training and improvement, it takes time. It's cumulative. Meaning you get better from day to day, week to week, month to month, season to season, year to year. That training adds up. And those swimmers that show up every day, even if they're not the most talented kid, there's a lot of power in showing up every day. So availability leads to ability, which was a big piece of this whole dryland talk. The Gain Swimming drylands are really dedicated toward build better, stronger, more robust athletes. There's a lot of good shoulder work in there, hip work, that it is strengthening, but at the same time, it's also rehab type of work. Number 3, never hurt the water. So although doing drylands is fun and it can look really cool on Instagram, doing these really hard workouts or getting your kids just drenched in sweat and they're just toasted, right? But then if you get in the water that day or the next day and you can't do anything, are you really making progress? So one of the big ideas in Gain Swimming is never hurt the water, where your dryland programming should be appropriate to where your swimmers are at. And how do you know? Really, in my experience, it just takes experimentation. You write a workout, and then you get in the water and you look like crap. You probably did too much, and that's not a bad thing. Maybe one day you'll be able to do that workout, but right now where your swimmers are at, that is too much. So remember, we don't want to hurt the water. Doing drylands is great. It'll make your swimmers stronger. It'll make them better. But if they're toasted and they can't swim, did we become better swimmers that day? I would say probably not. Number 4, sell it. So at this conference, a bunch of coaches kept asking this question. What if our swimmers are not bought in? And this doesn't just go for drylands, because the Gain Swimming is a system. It's an entire program that you want to build top to bottom. But the idea is you have to sell it. You have to coach it. Your swimmers have to believe that you believe in what you're doing, right? So if you just show up to practice, you're like, oh, we're going to do this thing that I tried, or I saw this cool video on YouTube, like, okay, that's great, maybe that day. But the Gain Swimming is a program. The stuff you do in the water is a program. It's not just random workouts you're putting together every day. So the big thing was sell it. And here's how we sell it. 1, you got to coach it hard. So when you're there and you're saying, hey, these are going to be intense, this is what we're going to do, you as the coach will match that intensity of the workout. The intensity you want to see, you match it. Another thing is you have to stay consistent. You can't say, hey, we'll do Gain Swimming on Mondays, right? So, or if you are in the water, you're like, we're going to be a better sprint team, so we're only going to sprint on Mondays. I know that was a very broad statement I just made on the last one. If you're a swim coach, you're like, well, whatever you want to say about that, I'm just trying to make a point. You have to sell it. If you believe something works and you believe that it'll make your swimmers better, then sell it, okay? Talk to the parents, talk to the athletes, talk to the coaches, explain why it works. So, we're talking about gain swimming in this sense, but really anything. You gotta sell it. If you want it to work, you gotta sell it. I would rather take a lesser talented athlete who believes 100% in what we're doing than the most talented athlete who has no faith in the program. Because the kid who has all the faith is going to go further, and they're going to be a lot happier. Number 5, don't roboticize your athletes. So, this drives me crazy, especially on that, the Swim Coaches ID Exchange group on Facebook. I have a hard time being on that group. It has been very helpful to me, I will say that. So, coaches out there who have commented on my post and my questions and have had really insightful stuff, I really do appreciate it. But don't roboticize your athletes, meaning you don't have to be perfect to do a movement. Don't hurt your athletes, of course, and your athletes. As you're learning and experimenting, you will figure out what those bounds are, but you don't need robots, okay? When you're doing a squat, when you're doing these other movements, you don't want to look so stiff that you can't move. You know why? Because we don't swim like that. We're not coaching robots. So that's just the physicality part of it, right? Now the mental side of roboticizing your workouts. You have a program, you have a system in place in the water, correct? Now, it's not one size fits all. You can't take athlete A and do the exact same thing with athlete A and athlete B, and you're going to get the same results. At a certain point, you're going to have to individualize. In dryland, this comes from regressions and lateralizations. So let's say a kid is really struggling with a squat. A regression could be a split squat. A regression could be a half squat. So you're doing a little less, right? A lateralization could be like, okay, our right leg's bothering us today, so we're gonna do single leg squats on this leg, or we're gonna work on hip hinges. A lateralization would be something similar, but just a little different for the athlete. You're not coaching robots, right? Every athlete needs something different emotionally, mentally, and physically. And if your athletes have the greatest technique in the world, but they're stiff as a board, that's just not very athletic. In no athletic sport are you stiff as a board. Everything is connected. Everything is flowing together. When you watch great swimmers, it looks like they're just flowing through the water, that each stroke flows into the next. So don't roboticize your athletes. Okay, number 6, maybe my favorite. This one actually wasn't said at the Gain Swimming Conference, but since we're talking about drylands, I just have to get on my soapbox for it. Your knees can go past the toes on a squat. And my biggest argument for that is watch any Olympic weightlifter doing the snatch. When they have that bar posted up above their head and you look at that squat on the bottom, the knees are past the toes, okay? It will not destroy your knees, okay? It won't destroy your knees. I'm not really sure where this idea came from, but if you watch a 2-year-old get down to grab something, they get down in a perfect squat. Now I will tell you, here's what has to happen. The hips have to go first. Small hip hinge, and then your hips go straight down. I would challenge you to do your own research here. I'm not a dryland professional, but I will tell you through all the research that I've done, I have concluded your knees can go past your toes in a squat. On a flip turn, your knees are past your toes in a squat position. On the blocks, your knees are going past the toes as you're launching off the blocks. Your knees going past the toes is a very athletic thing. It just matters when and how. And I would challenge you to do your own research there. Squat University on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, fantastic resource. The dude, all he does is coach squats. He's a PhD, knows way more than me, but that's what I would do. So there was more things from that conference, but I just wanted to share this with you. If you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe, share it, give me a comment, like it, all the things, right? The more you do that stuff, the more somebody else might see it. So if this was beneficial to you, help a brother out. But until then, you guys have a great one, and let's go be better swim coaches.